incoming Chief Executive Officer of Zextras to join us here on stage.
Thank you.
Also joining us is Mr. Jesse Giles, Solutions Engineer of PAX 8. Nice to see you again, sir. And also with us is Mr. Arturo J. Patuan Jr., Assistant Professor of University of Santo Tomas. Big round of applause. And this exciting and informative panel discussion, of course, with our panelists, will be moderated by no other than Mr. Joey Alcala, Country Manager of PAX 8 Philippines.
Hello, hello, and thank you, Val, for the introduction.
Sir Joey, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying and joining us despite the weather. But this afternoon, I think, today we had a very insightful topics and will not end it without having the afternoon panel discussion. So for today, maybe before we start, I'll give quick rounds for the panelists to give their introductions. Maybe say your name as well as your organization. Maybe we can start with Paolo.
Okay, cool. Hi everybody, my name is Paolo. I'm Italian. I'm CEO at Zextras, and at Zextras we are actually trying to take care about your data.
Thank you, Paolo. How about you, Sir Arturo, Professor Arturo?
Hi, I'm Arturo from the University of Santo Tomas. Happy to be here, and seems like we're just the two Filipino here.
Yes. Thank you, Sir Arturo. And last but not the least, Jesse.
Yes, I'm Jesse. I talked earlier, so I've met a lot of you. So from the PAX 8 side, the marketplace is great.
Okay, great. So, thank you again for the introduction, and I guess it's clear that where we will be getting the expertise from these three panelists, and we look forward in diving into today's discussion. So, to start with, maybe to Sir Arturo, right, Professor Arturo. Let's discuss the current landscape, and I want to ask what emerging trends in AI and cybersecurity should companies be aware of, and how can they prepare for these changes to stay ahead of potential threats?
Well, thank you to Sir Angel. He discussed everything already, so that makes my life here easier. But what are the possible things that we have to look into is AI securities. The good AI and bad AI is always there. Then even call this quantum computing is a threat. It's a good thing and a bad thing again, because in quantum computing we can have more securities to be made. Likewise, you could easily crack codes because of quantum computing. Zero threat structures, those are the things. AI threats and privacy is still a good topic that we have to look into. So those are the things that we have to look into. Basically, still the same. In terms of AI and cybersecurity, what are the things that we should be doing is, I missed one thing, skills gap among our human resources. So that's a very big problem. I think we have 150 here in the crowd, but take note how many cybersecurities is needed, not only in the Philippines, but around the world. So we lack talents. So those are the trends that I'm looking for. So what are the possible things that we could look into? Well, investment in AI technologies and detecting cybersecurity is one. Looking into certain threats, wherein we are looking at the possibility that threats is not just coming outside, but probably internally. So those things that we have to look into. Collaborations with academia and industry. We can ask the nerds from the academy to do their job, to be nerd again on cybersecurity. So those are the things that we have to look into.
Great. That's fascinating. It's fascinating to hear those emerging trends as what Sir Angel mentioned earlier as well, right? But I think that preparation is really the key, to prevention, right? Preventing those threats. Well, maybe let's try to shift our focus now on how companies can practically address those challenges, right, or those threats. So, to Paolo, this is a question for you. How does Sexos approach the data privacy and government regulations address those specific needs of the businesses, and how can MSPs or TSPs or technology service providers benefit from your solutions?
That's an interesting one for all of us. So the main point is about data privacy. Little bit of context. Data privacy is part of a wider scenario that is called data sovereignty, right? So regulations nowadays are trying to create or to find, and again, they're trying to find. They're not actually doing that in the best way, but they're trying to have balance between technology and digital sovereignty. Therefore, within digital sovereignty, there's data privacy in the meaning of being aware and having control on where your data are and how those data are managed and by whom those data are managed. One of the main response to this kind of approach of regulations that is also matching the new trend called cloud repatriation is that some companies, not all of them, but some companies, they do have specific regulations about data privacy and data sovereignty. Some countries, Philippines included with the DPA, that is not even a new one because it's like a 12 years old regulation, it would be one of the first. They're trying to give this kind of guidance about having control of the data. So our approach to this is to provide you with a tool that is giving all the features you are willing to find from a product that in our case is managing digital workplace. So for the ones that are not knowing us, we are doing digital workplaces. So usual brands you are knowing about this are Google and Microsoft, right? No one is saying they're not good. No one is saying we are better. We are different because of the approach. We are trying to solve the same problem in a different way. We are trying to give an alternative to the ones that need to have something under their control to deploy on their premise or by a cloud provider they trust, or sometimes a cloud provider that has some specific certification by the state or some specific certification for a specific industry to create in such infrastructure something that is comparable to those other tools. And of course, that is also bringing us to another point, that is security. That is, one of the main topics today. And I'm stealing a sentence from Jesse here. He said, security is a journey. So again, here we are changing the rules a little bit again, because we built in the last years everything mainly for cloud security. So because of this cloud repatriation, because of these data sovereignty regulations, we also need to reconsider how to create this journey for security, even in the case we are managing with local data centers, on-prem, and deployment like this. Therefore, for MSP, that's a challenge. And when there is a challenge, there's an opportunity. When there is an opportunity, there is money. We are here also because we are interested into money. So it's a new chapter, it's a new scenario, very similar to an old scenario. That's just because everything in IT is a circle. Everything is actually returning after a while. So, Professor, you are, not too young, so you will remember that. Some times ago everything was on-prem, and then now everything is on cloud, and now we are reconsidering on-prem. Therefore, also security need to be reconsidered to be also available to serve to those new on-prem scenarios. And again, that's an opportunity for all of us.
Agree, and that's very insightful, Paolo. I think, especially for the organizations or companies in the Philippines who are navigating those complex regulations, right? And it keeps on evolving as well, right? Innovating as well when it comes to those regulations. Sir Pat, do you want to add something? Okay. I think with those things, maybe let's try to now explore how broader cybersecurity support can be integrated with those framework, that Paolo shared as well. And this is for you, Jesse. So with us as PACSA, how do we assist local businesses or maybe businesses in strengthening their cybersecurity infrastructure? And maybe you can provide some specific examples that we have also from other regions like in Australia, where we have helped companies mitigate potential risk.
Yeah, I mean, where to begin? There's a lot of areas where PACSA comes in and provides some extra resources for all of you. I talked a little earlier around our security program. I think this one really stands out for me. It's something that we really drove over the last quarter, and we're going to be picking up again towards the end of the year. But education is really the gap that we're seeing at the moment when it comes to cybersecurity. So making sure that we know what we need to be doing and having access to those resources to train ourselves, train our staff, and educate our end users, that's, in my opinion, probably the major gap. So by looking at something like our security program, we can help close that education gap. You can go a step further with us and involve our academy. So instructor-led training to go that extra step as well and tailor that down to your individual businesses. And look, I might be a little bit biased here because I'm on the solution engineering team, but I think we're a pretty good resource. So we can sit down with you and help you pick solutions, pick ones that are going to make sense for you, make sense for your businesses, and then actually help train you how to onboard with them so that you're comfortable using them. Because there's no point having a tool if you don't know how to use it. So, in my opinion, that's probably the biggest areas where we help and assist.
Well, thank you, Jesse. I think one thing as well is I think to add to that, to what you mentioned, this is one thing that we've been heavily investing as a provider, right? Really invest on educating our partner, ongoing education. I think that's a good start to, especially learning this new technologies in the market, especially, with the evolution of technology, even the trends. That's what Sir Angel mentioned. We have to also be educated and be on top of those trends as well as solutions as well, right? Sir Pat, as an educator and also a thought leader, right? What role do you believe the academic community should play in shaping the conversation around responsible AI use?
One thing is the curriculum of the curriculum itself. So the curriculum should be fit in such a way that it will be able to be flexible on the new technologies. So that's one. That means all curriculum should be, quote unquote, I may be, baka awayan ako ng chat. But quote unquote, we can say that the curriculum should be changed in such a way that AI technologies and recent trend, cybersecurity, the rest of the recent trend would be included in the curriculum. Because whether we like it or not, the next job role that these students that we have would have to do something about new technologies, artificial intelligence, generative AI, and we don't know by tomorrow what would be another technology would come in. So that's one. Second would be us in the academe, research should be there. We should be looking into what are the possible applications of generative AI, what would be the possible applications of artificial intelligence in different things. And thirdly is make sure that ethics is there. Very important. Ethics on ethical use of AI and ethical use of data. Probably we have a good data privacy here in the Philippines, but it also somewhat, in my opinion, it somewhat also tried to control the research in the Philippines because of that data privacy. So probably the next data privacy has something to do with ethical use of the data, that you can allow data to be processed, but ethically, so that it would be better for the Philippines also. So those are the things that I'm looking into. And also we should be, as our friend here would say, there should be continuous education, not only with you people in the industry, but also we from the academy. We should be engaging to the industry, talking to the industry, not just because of OJTs of our students. I think we should dive more into the real conversation, that we're not just talking about OJT or internship. We should be talking on what's happening in your domain. How can we help? And likewise, in our end, since you are more fast-paced than the academe, what is the help that we need so that the industry and the academe are really moving forward? So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Well, I agree. No, the intersection between the education and also industry really is indeed crucial. Especially, we need to prepare the next generation, right, to deal with these complex issues. No, kasi as what you can see and what has been shared as well, that trends are evolving, and with this, and how do we navigate it? With the new generation, they need to be really prepared for those.
Yeah, and we add also that take note, it should not be just the student, because teachers cannot teach something that they don't know. So extending the immersion and immersion of the students towards the teachers, training the teachers so that they can really train their students.
Agree. Correct. And I totally agree with that, especially, the ones that may be sitting here moving forward might be an educator or also maybe a student, right, in the next future, right? Correct. So, thank you so much, Sir Arturo. And how Paulo, for in relation to that, given the growing concerns of data privacy, right, around data privacy, how does Sextros leverage the solutions that you offer enhance data protection while while ensuring compliance in data and privacy regulations? And maybe can you specify some use cases where it has played a critical role in safeguarding sensitive information for your customers?
Yeah. So those are two topics that look very different. Data sovereignty, data privacy on one side is everything about being sure about your data, where those data are, who is touching those data, who is managing, how those are transported to where and stuff like that. And then security. The main problem is creating an ecosystem of solutions. I really like the idea of using frameworks. So Jesse was speaking about the CIS, for example, as a framework. The very starting point about everything is always a big picture of what are the points you need to actually comply with the regulations you need to. So there's always national regulations, but there's many times also specific regulations about the industry. Many countries, they do have specific regulation on the healthcare, specific regulation on the banking system, so the FSIs. So there's no one single data privacy. There's no one single digital sovereignty. There's different blends, different variation. Therefore, security, again, that will be different every single time depending on the approach you need to have because of the regulation, and you can afford, of course, because it's always a matter of investment. And again, stealing words from Jesse, sorry about that, is the main point is always focusing on what is most important for you and what you can afford. I love that because it's actually the main problem. Everybody are speaking about security, and when it comes to security and digital sovereignty, because vast majority of the times is either on-prem or self-deployed, self-maintained by an external data center. There is an extra effort that is maintaining some of those layers in security stack that usually are managed by third parties. It's very convenient to go by Google, Microsoft, and asking to them, and again I'm stealing more from the other panelists, asking to them, are you good in security? Answer is always yes. In this specific case, when it comes to data privacy, you are the ones that need to design security. There's no one you can ask to this specific question. That will be asked to you. So again, the only solution, and it's not my opinion, I would say it's actually the only solution, is to create around the project a team of people, a team of different competencies, a team of different expertise. And here, like for example, using the full stack of products that Pax8 is proposing to you, is giving you the chance to create the perfect blend that is matching the required level of security for that specific project that requires a specific level of compliance with some specific regulations, either nationals or fully vertical. So again, there's no single good answer to the question. Again, that will be a problem, that will be a challenge, and again, that will be an opportunity, and you will be the ones that are going to be seen and paid as the one bringing security and compliance to the customer for the project.
Well said, well said. I totally agree, right? You know, buying the solutions and looking, you know, being the right fit, right? You know, if you have that requirement and you're not really digging into the details of what you need, then you might buy the wrong solution and spend money without, you know, and not utilizing it in the long run, right? And thank you, Paulo, for sharing that. And I think you have illustrated a good example, right? And how, you know, finding the right fit for the requirement, right?
Yeah, and let me adjust that there's no perfect product, or there's no such a product as security. It's really depending project by project. So examples are very difficult because of this. Sometimes storage encoding is required. Sometimes 3-4 different kind of level of authentications are required. Sometimes different kind of threat analysis are required. So it's actually a project-based set of requirements, and there's no two projects equal to the other. There's no projects equal to the others.
Agree. And I think that also brings in the resiliency, right? You know, having that kind of, you know, different solutions collaborating together can also provide resiliency for, you know, for the customers or even for the users, right? So I think it's the same, you know, basic analogy is having like a house, right? Where, you know, you have your house and then you put there maybe a lock. But and then you see some threats, right? Like for example, if you're focused on security, right? The lock might not be sufficient, then you put in a fence, right? And then the fence might not be sufficient again because it's evolving. They know how to, you know, pick the fence, etc. You put in a surveillance camera, right? Or electric fence or whatsoever. So those really, it depends on, you know.
Yeah, and just to continue your example, if you're putting like a lock on your windows because the second threat you found was, okay, I locked my door, I need to lock my windows.
Correct.
And again, and that works for him, but it's not working for me because I'm living at the 25th floor. So again, that's the reason every single project needs to be actually analyzed in a very deep way.
That's correct, and that's the framework where the framework comes in, right? And also the education, like Sir Pat mentioned, right? So everything really is connected, right? So thank you again, Paolo, for that. Now let's turn our attention to how businesses can keep pace with these technology advancements. So this is for you, Jesse. With the rapid advancement in AI and cybersecurity, how do we, as Pax8, ensure that its solution remain relevant and effective for our customer and what strategies can you recommend, or can we recommend for businesses to stay agile and adaptable?
I think Angel made a really good point earlier when he was talking about the different attack surfaces that are out there. And Arturo pointed it out as well. Threats are constantly changing. Who knows what we're going to see next? So, as part of what we do at PAX 8 is we keep up to date with that. We're looking what's changing, what's happening, what are the kind of threats that we're seeing, and in terms of your vendors, who's out there that's doing cool new stuff that can actually help stop some of this. So, Lee talked earlier about how new vendors are constantly coming onto our marketplace. I think this is really the key side to this, is that we're keeping up to date with what you should be doing. We're finding those solutions, we're vetting them, we're making sure that they are fit for your businesses, and then we're bringing them on and giving you the opportunity to actually go and put those out into your businesses. So I think that's probably how we can go and help you with staying up to date. And then the other side to the question there was what you need to be doing. And frameworks has come up multiple times today because we need to be taking a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach to cybersecurity. So you need to be making sure that you are doing that, staying up to date, and actually doing things that are relevant. I know I talked earlier around the Google Maps analogy. I think I'll just take it a step further. Sometimes when you're in traffic and I'm using Google Maps and there's a crash or something, my maps will reroute me. It's not going to keep me on that same journey. So if it makes sense for your business to change, depending on those circumstances, then you need to stay up to date and do that as well.
Totally agree. I think the word for that is really adaptability is a key, right? So you need to adapt to the current trends, the current trends as well. You need to be up to date with those trends and trends in the market, and because